Or no, not to the cloud. That's not what I wanted. Sorry. Oh, well, I can record it to the cloud tonight. That's fine. Okay, great. So here we are. So first thing is the project description. So you're going to learn basically how to edit in Pro Tools, and it has a lot of similarities to Logic. And you're going to make your own composition tonight. And I'm going to provide you with samples of pop music, and you'll make your own composition. So this is kind of a tried and true method. You think about so much of popular music is based on sampling, right? So you can start thinking like a composer, like a producer now. You'll submit a 2 to 3 minute song, so not super long. And you have to use at least 4 of the samples. You can use more than 4. I encourage you to use more if you like. And you have to do a little bit besides the editing. You have to change the speed of at least 2 and change the effect. You have to put some kind of plug-in into 2 of them. So kind of similar to what we did with Logic. So you'll download them first from Blackboard. You should see a folder that says samples, and listen to them first. See, it's maybe you'll know some of these. Some of them are full grooves, like the Al Green. Bob James has more percussion, drums. Busta Rhymes, we do kind of a full groove. There's some 50s, 60s jazz. Or you might want some things that are a novelty or an accent, like the boom. Boom, 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 it goes boom. So go through these and kind of earmark, oh, I love that one. I'm going to use that one as my basis, or I'm going to use the drums from this one or the bass from that one, and so forth. So don't skip that step. Listen to the samples. All right, so to get to Pro Tools, it's the purple looking wave. And Pro Tools is a little more, probably one of the more fussy programs. It's very specific. It's very powerful. There's lots of things you can do. So it's not exactly a plug and play. So just kind of opening it and setting it up is a little bit funky. But I'm going to call this project. I think you can get a laptop.
They gave me an HD, but I can't really work on anything.
Yeah, you can talk to, if any of you question is about laptops from IT, and we can talk about it. Yeah, I don't know if they would be able to put all these programs, but they might be able to load them on to a Mac.
All really expensive,
right? Pro Tools you can get for like $10 a month if you want to do a subscription. Okay, so project for Pro Tools Loop. There we go. And use local storage session. That'll keep it on your computer, and then you can send it to the drive if you want. These should be more or less what I have listed, 24-bit, 44.1K. This is important. Location. Remember where you have saved it, because Pro Tools creates an entire folder with all this linked stuff. It's not just like a single file. It creates a whole nest of stuff. So I'm going to put this on my desktop. And that's what we're going to do. Click create. You'll see here's my Pro Tools folder over here. If I open this folder up, you see it creates all this different stuff: audio, bounced files, clip groups, session backups, video. So it's a complicated kind of deal. I wish that this Zoom thing would go over here and stay. Okay. All right. So first thing I want you to do is, before you start working, is make sure that your playback engine, this is so that you'll be able to hear it through the Scarlett Focusrite, which is the red box, your interface playback engine make sure yours is set to Scarlet. Mine's on Electron right now because I want you to be able to hear it. I have a different playback than you, but make sure you set it to Scarlet because Pro Tools actually closes and opens when you reset the playback engine. So I don't want you to like do a bunch of work and have Pro Tools close. All right, then we go up to create new, new track, new. And this is important as well. You need to set it to stereo because I'm giving you stereo samples. That means that 2 channels were used to record it versus mono means 1 channel to record it. And audio track, samples audio, you can leave those the same. We're going to click create. And here we have our first track. Woo! So then we're going to go over to the samples. And you can just drag what you want in. Let's work with this Busta Rhymes. Ooh, there it is. Doesn't that look amazing? And the playback is similar to Logic. So you can, drop it in above, right above your track, click spacebar. Hey, we're live. And then there's a couple of different ways, things I want to show you. This is in the editing shortcuts. This is kind of important because stuff is a little bit hard to find in Pro Tools. You have to kind of dig around in the stuff. So these are listed in red in the directions. And these are the most useful things that you should know if you ever work with Pro Tools, which is the zoom. So Command bracket makes your wave file longer horizontally. So this zooms in and out horizontally. So Command left bracket and Command right bracket. Very important commands, right? Because look how small it was. I can't even see where to cut. So Command brackets are the things next to the letter P on your keyboard. Command bracket, left and right brackets. If you do Control Option up and down, you can vertical zoom. Ooh, that's also, I like it. I like a nice big sound wave so I can see what I'm doing. So those are the 2 zooms. Very important. Spacebar. And then from here, you can start chopping up. So there's a set of tools. I have, this thing is called the Smart tool. I want you to leave this on. You can select one at a time, but if you select this bar above it, it'll have all the tools you need for Pro Tools Engaged. And notice if I move the mouse to the bottom, what happens? You'll see that? Who can see what happens? So here's the top. Who's on Zoom that can see? What on the top? Looks like a letter I. If I go down,
The grabber.
it's a grabber. So it's changing tools. Essentially, it's going from the grabber, it's called the grabber, which allows me to move the whole chunk. So take your mouse to the bottom, turns in the grabber, take it to the top, it turns into the trim tool. So I can move it around and make cuts. Oh no, actually I lied. This is the selector tool. This is the trim tool at the end. If you go to the end, you can trim it this way. So trim tool, select tool, and grabber. And it depends where you move the mouse. That's your basic, things. So let's start chopping this up. If I select, let's say I'll select just this chunk. And y'all know Command C. What is Command C? Copy. And then what is paste? Command V. Woo! Yeah, look at that. I just got myself up to almost 20 seconds. Okay, and then I can be a little more accurate, making sure if I zoom in, I can see it's not quite a clean cut. There we go. Good. So you can start making loops this way. So this is how you'll basically make your composition. so I'm gonna go ahead and, I'm gonna do a little bit of this.
Are we looping, just the loops together, or are we like looping like our own drum beat with it, like doing other stuff?
Just the given material.
Like just mixing together?
Yep.
in a way?
Yep. So this is like a super limited project. This is like, if someone handed you 4 samples and they're like, hey, make a song on this.
Action, sampling, boom.
Yeah, a mashup, if you will. Yeah. Okay, so you can start chopping up like this. And making, the kind of palette that you want. There's a couple of other tools that you can use to help you. One is there's a bulk looper. So instead of copy pasting you can a la carte do the chunks you want, or you can go up to this tool and everybody see the little down arrow? There's other tools nested under the trim tool. So I'm going to click on loop. And if I select the track, do you see how it puts a little arrow in the bottom showing that I'm loop? And now I can like indefinitely loop this portion that I selected. So let's just say I'm going to loop, I loop that 4 times. So that's cool. And then let's take a listen. Okay. And I kind of like this little boom, boom at the end. So I'm going to grab that. And I'm going to paste that a few times because that's pretty cool. Let's get right on it. So you can see this is like people that do like audio editing do this kind of stuff all day long with tracks. Okay, so now I created my own loop. And I could use that to create like a new groove, like to create a tempo change, go somewhere else in my composition. Let's do that. Okay, cool. So how to change the speed? So you got to change the speed once. The easiest way is you can use this drop down here, TCE, time compression. And you can just drag your track. If you make it longer, it's going to play it slower. So let's see what that did. Okay, so that's kind of cool. And then if I duplicate this chunk, then I'll have a little bit slower groove, like maybe I want to do something else with this, Okay, cool. Let's see how, let's go back from the beginning. And I don't like how this is not at the beginning, so I'm going to grab all this. You guys go to the beginning. There we go. You can also, oh, and I goofed. I didn't select all. Hold on. Undo. Command A, select all. Boom, you go to the beginning. All right, let's try again. A little repeater. And my slowdown. Okay, so that's a little experimenting with that. That's how you can change the speed. So you got to do something with speed twice. And it's easy because it's fun to kind of mess with how you might change your grooves. All right, the other thing you have to do is add some effects. And I'm going to create a new track. New stereo track. You create a new track. And I'm actually going to drag this thing these 2 things that I slowed down. I'm going to drag them down into this track so that I'm going to work with effects in that. To open up the mixer in Pro Tools, it's the equals sign or command equals, or you can go up to window mix. So there's two different, windows. And here are my two tracks. So you all are probably more familiar with this already because we did Logic and it looks very similar how their mixer works. So here's my audio 2. Oh, I also asked you to rename these. So we're going to call this Busta 2. So that, because when you start getting a bunch of tracks, you want to know what you're working with. I'm going to just call that Busta and Busta 2. All right. So to add an effect very similar to Logic, you go up to these inserts and do a multi-channel plugin. And let's do something like, let's do some chorus. And here, now you can just kind of play with the knobs and see what you think. If you want to do this in real time, you can select the tracks. And if you do Command-Shift-L, L is for loop, it'll loop the track. Well, this will just go forever, and then you can mess with your effect. And then there's a compare button. You can compare without and with. That's pretty cool. All right. And I'm going to add some reverb to that too, because I think that'll help amplify. I'm going to do deverb. This will help amplify kind of what I'm doing with it. So you can try different presets. A little too wet, a little too much decay. Maybe small hall. Okay. So anyway, there. Now I've created something, whoa, like kind of totally different out of this. Different soundscape altogether, just from that one little chunk. All right. That's it. When you're done, when you're ready, you can, if you do have any extra space in your file, be sure to select and delete this so you don't have 5 minutes of dead space at the end. I want to show you one more thing. There is another thing that comes with this Smart Tool stuff, and it's a fade. Everyone see this little box? Everyone see that? If I go up to the top, in between two tracks, creates a little box. If I go to the bottom, it creates a different kind of box. So the box at the bottom, you kind of roll over till it happens. This creates a crossfade. So if you want to, kind of make your cuts smoother, I'm going to take it off time compression standard. You can create crossfades in between them. You can also, that one's not working. Come on, guy. Oh, okay. There we go. This is a crossfade. So this basically adjust the bounds. Just click adjust the bounds if it does that. This glues the two things together so you don't have any clicks or pops or any dead space at all. So that's crossfading. Do crossfading at the end because you might change your mind, and it's a pain to delete fades and stuff if you change your editing or whatever. So do your fades at the end. You can also create fades, like if I want this to fade in, I can just drag. So the fade thing in Pro Tools is awesome because it's so easy to do. So I just created fades on either of these ends to create a nice scene for my music. All right, then very similar when you go to submit your file, you bounce the mix and you want MP3 mono summed as you go through. So yeah, great. Gonna stop the recording.